Hi Aquarius, I hope that you're all doing well. We're here with your reading, what you need to know for October. So I started the video, but then it got cut off. I'm 4 cards in, so we're just gonna go from here. I'm looking at Justice, the Lovers, Judgment, and 3 of Cups. Keep in mind that this is something that more likely than not, it's not just going to happen one day over the entire month. This is the reading for the entire month, what you need to know for October. So this can be something that ends up being worked out or figured out or experienced all throughout the month. Having us start off with Justice, and also too because we have the Lovers next to it. Usually this is you trying to work something out, to figure something out within a relationship. When we have Justice there, this means that if anything needs to be corrected, if anything needs to be brought into balance, that can be focused on, that can be being figured out, that can be being done. What this means too is that if anything is not aligned with your personal values, it can be a time where you're expressing what those things are. It can be a time where you're becoming more clear on what that is. And ultimately, the reason for doing this is so things can actually work with you and this person, so things can feel harmonious with you and this person. And that can also mean with yourself too. If you're doing something and you feel like you're abandoning yourself in some way to be involved in something, this can be a time when you reconcile that. This can be a time when you sort of bring things back together for yourself. So having Justice here, it brings up your values, especially your social values, because we have the Lovers and this indicates usually an interpersonal relationship that we're connected with. Also having Judgment here, this is going to be about breaking things down to get to the center of what's going on. And this means too not hiding from the truth, which can sometimes be a little bit difficult depending on where you are as far as acceptance. But what Judgment is going to do is going to really help you see what's going on to basically accomplish the goal that you're trying to accomplish here, even if that's just for you and this person to see eye to eye. I find it interesting that we have so many major arcanas. We just have 2 more that came out, and I'm also seeing the Hanged Man on the bottom of the deck. 5 out of the 6 cards that we have here are major arcanas. Okay. What is going on and why is this difficult? When we start with Justice and we end with 9 of Wands, what this can mean is that you have something that you need to reinforce. You have something, a part of yourself that you need to advocate for. If you don't bring this into play, if you don't advocate this, if you don't voice this, what's going to happen is that you're going to feel like something's off within the connection. You'll feel like something's off within the relationship, and things will not be able to come back together. This feels like something's going on that needs to be corrected so it can change, because something, if it continues the way that it does, you can feel like there is, like something's not actually working within the dynamic, within the relationship. And it can be something going on that makes you not want to be in the dynamic, not want to be in the relationship. And then you have this feeling, why am I feeling turned off by this? Why am I feeling not happy about this? Why am I feeling like I don't want to be present to the connection? Why do I feel like I don't want to be present to the relationship? And it's because there's a misalignment that needs to be corrected in order for you to feel like you can flow back into things. Because what this looks like is that things really can work well and things really can be corrected, but change is needed. And if that doesn't happen, you're going to feel like something's off the entire time. This can mean something needs to be called out, but it feels more so on your behalf that you need to express something. Because justice is going to come back to, in this context, it's going to come back to your relationship values and something going on that's not aligned with that, that needs to be looked at, that needs to be reflected on within your dynamic with this person, so that things can come back together in a way that they're not feeling like right now. And you looking at things and not feeling happy with things, or not feeling connected, or even feeling dismissive or not wanting to participate, it's because this correction is needed. But it can be something that's hard to do. I don't know if you feel like advocating for yourself is difficult to do, or correcting something is difficult to do, or voicing your values is difficult to do. I mean, I can get an inkling from this, having justice and having 9 of Wands. Justice represents Libra, and having there be a Libran related struggle, it can mean that you want to keep the peace, but by not confronting something that needs to be confronted, and then you actually don't feel at peace. You suffer because of that then. So as much as it can be difficult to do, it really does feel like this is not going to be laid to rest until something is done, until something is corrected, and then change can happen. And this doesn't feel like you need to abandon the relationship. It doesn't mean like things are not working out between you and this person. This just feels like a step in a direction that you want the relationship to be going in. Otherwise, you're going to feel at odds within the relationship. You're going to feel like something isn't allowing you to feel like things are right with you and this person. So there's stuff within the dynamic that's being worked out. This is definitely going to be a month-long thing that's going to be playing out. It feels like patience is going to be needed within the partnership, figuring out what's presenting itself to you and how to work through it with this person, taking time to do self-care and to ground, and knowing when you need a break, and then also spending time and balancing between going in and looking at what's going on, and then taking a step back and sort of recalibrating, and then going back in and seeing what's going on, and then taking time to recharge. Feels like a very touch and go process that's going to be happening. This will allow things to actually come back together with you and this person. So you'll actually, by the end of this, you can feel that things come back together in a way where you're not faking it, where you're not forcing it, and where you're saying you're okay with something that you're not okay with. This is an actual correction that's going to be happening. If you stick with it, if you're willing to stick with it. This is a really big personal evolution that's happening regarding the way that you work within your relationships, within your partnerships. And although this can be a specific partnership that you're working within, this is something that can also be applied to your other relationships as well. There may just be one relationship that is center focused here. It does feel like if stuff is not corrected, that you can feel like you and this person remain at odds with one another, that something really does need to change big time in order for things to move to a place where they are feeling like you and this person are connected with one another again, where there is mutual support and understanding, and feeling like you are being seen, and like this other person feels like they're being seen, and there's a sense of presence there within the connection where things can actually be good between the two of you guys. That doesn't mean it's always awful between you guys, but it can mean that there's sort of been a lingering issue here that needs to be corrected, and also needs to be put to rest finally, so you don't have to keep dealing with this anymore. So it becomes the problem is dissolved, so it's not going to be popping back up again. And Death card below Justice means that This can be corrected and it does not need to be brought back up again. If this is corrected in the right way, it will not resurface again within the relationship. And that can be a really relieving thing to hear. If there's been an ongoing issue that's been needed to be corrected, it can be encouraging to know that if this is dealt with once and for all, it will not return, it will not resurface again. And that can be motivation enough to actually do something here. Like if you're promised that there really will be a resolve, why not go for it so you don't have to keep dealing with this? And that the answer isn't like abandoning the relationship, it's that this can actually be resolved with you and this person, and that things can continue. This is something that's going to take a lot of energy, so you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself during this. It feels like a marathon, not a sprint, because this is a really big transition that you're going through, both personally and also interrelationally. And because it's not just an overnight process, because this is something that's going to be a little bit more drawn out than that, you need to make sure that you are stepping back and recharging when you need to be, because this is something that is going to take a lot of energy. You and this person could have been feeling a little bit at odds with one another. Like two very different perspectives even that you guys had, and there could have been a feeling almost like, how does that get reconciled? But this is going to, you know, actually what I feel about this is that I feel like the thing that's going on with you and this person, it's not because you guys don't have compatible values. It's something else that's going on, because at the end of the day, I am seeing compatibility here actually. So that's not what the problem is. It's something other than that, which is a relief, right? Because that, like, compatibility feels less like a choice sometimes and more like you either have compatible values or you don't. And when you do have compatible values, can't anything be figured out then with that person? So I see that as being encouraging as well. I want to clarify Two of Swords just to see if there's anything else. It does look like what's going to end up happening is this somewhat like irreconcilable or vastly different perspectives are actually going to come together and become one in a way where things will be understood and it won't feel like a being at odds anymore. It won't feel like that within yourself, and it won't feel like that within the dynamic. And that's what this will do. This can be about renewing the commitment too. And if it's not a renewal, this can be an official beginning. That can happen. I wonder if that's too been part of what's been on the fence, is to commit to this entirely or not at all. And that could have been something, weirdly enough, even though I'm seeing there be like a very togetherness through this, I wonder if that was like kind of part of this. Like you wouldn't expect to see that given the other stuff, but that's kind of what I'm getting from this. Maybe also the choice was that if something can't really be resolved, then this is going to have to end entirely, or we can evolve together, which is entirely possible here from what I'm seeing. I feel like things are going to get more serious too if you had been feeling like it sort of lacked that before. Like something can feel more official, something can feel more serious. Okay, who do we have here? We have the Sun on the bottom of the deck. I am looking at Virgo, Sagittarius. I am here in Cancer, Scorpio, Libra, Gemini, and we also have Pluto here. Justice and Hermit can be a time where you're doing a deep analysis and going to have a revelation about what is really the right path to take here, and to spend the time needed to figure this out so you feel like you're really honoring yourself and your feelings and your standards throughout the process, and trying to bring a vision together that can feel kind of like a bit of a double vision that's going to come together and be unified, so things feel clear rather than at odds. The most difficult part is going through the changes, which means the shedding that comes up while this happens. I'm definitely seeing that this can feel like a new chapter that you are starting with this person. And it can feel very, very joyful, and it can feel very, very wonderful. And I do feel like something really important here that's happening is that this is not solely about you and this thing outside of yourself. Thing meaning the person. It's not just about that. This is about you with yourself and you breaking things down to understand it and then bringing that to the table with this other person. So if there is a lack of self-awareness and a lack of self-analysis here, where the only thing that you're looking at when you see the Two of Cups is solely based off of external things and not internal things, this is something that is going to be nearly impossible to be able to work out. It's really going to require there to be I'm feeling whole with myself and coming to the table intact with what that is, as this other person will as well, and then you work things out from there. But if there is this kind of like, I'm only bringing part of myself to the table and hoping that I could fit into the piece that this other person needs, or I'm showing up and hoping that they can fit me, but then there's this kind of self-abandoning that's happening here, it's not going to work that way. And that can even be what had been happening before and why things had been feeling off. There can be some type of self-understanding that is needed here, that I feel like what may have been happening before was some type of looking externally and then being like, why can't I find the answer? Why can't I find the answer? Why can't I find the answer? But it's like you're going to find it internally. And that's where things are going to come together and where things are going to make sense. And then you can approach the external after that. Because that can be why something wasn't being resolved, because of the way that it was being approached. When we have judgment here connected with Two of Cups, this is going to be self-reflection that has to happen. Because Two of Cups is going to allow you to feel at home and at peace within yourself. And until you're figuring out what the right path is for you when you're feeling like that, you can feel lost no matter who it is that you're connecting with and no matter what type of relationship you're in. It can feel almost like just something is missing, something isn't right, or like there's a part of you that wants this, but then there's a part of you that wants that. And like there's this not fully there type of feeling to it. So that Two of Cups is going to be something that happens internally, contained within you, and then it's going to be reflected in the container of your relationship with this person. This can mean too that if you feel like you know where you stand and there's this feeling of coming to the, like stepping to the plate, feeling whole, what this can mean is that there's something going on with this with the other person, and that there may be something within themselves that they are trying to find within you rather than looking inward, and then it's creating a dependency that's becoming an issue. But this can also be reversed too. Maybe both of you guys are doing this. That can be something that's going on as well. Because there can be an outsourcing that's happening that's actually problematic, that is not allowing for harmony within the relationship, because one is not feeling at peace within themselves and then is sort of bypassing that and trying to make it happen within the dynamic, but not taking care of things at home, like not taking care of things inside. So as much as this can feel like a relationship reading, it's first a relationship reading between you and yourself before it is with you and this person. And maybe that's what needed to be seen all along, that you have to feel a reconciliation with all of the aspects of yourself before you can begin to feel that within a relationship with this person. So if you're like, I don't feel like there's reconciliation within me, within these aspects of my being, so I'm trying to make it happen with this person, it's like you never quite get there because of trying to outsource it. It's going to have to be insourced in order to make it happen. And then once that happens, you're going to be able to have that experience also with this person. I do feel like that's part of what wasn't being seen with the Two of Swords, because that this can be a thing that wasn't making sense before, and like I want to get over here, but not really looking in the right place in order to do exactly that. Like things really needing to be seen, because you can even look at the other person and be like, you need to change and this needs to happen in order for me to feel good and in order for me to feel at peace, and this is stuff that had to happen internally. Like you needed to do the change. If you're looking at somebody else and it's sticking out to you like they need to do this and they need to do that, it's a projection and you have to turn it inward and see. But you could have been like, it's them and it's their problem and blah blah blah, and really it needed to be looked inward. Like that's where you're gonna find it. Like there's no outer decision you're gonna be able to make unless you come to that conclusion internally. And I do feel like that's part of this realization as well that's happening, where there's an understanding with that energy of Libra, where you can feel like the whole time it's about my relationship with this other person, and it's really ultimately about your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with other people are always going to be reflective of that. So when you're feeling totally at peace and smooth within yourself, like everything is in working order, you're not going to have the heat and you're not going to have the tension with other people. Especially in close proximity like this relationship is. So yeah, you could have been trying to go into this feeling like something wasn't right within you, or you were at odds with yourself, trying to work it out with this other person and being like, why is this not getting anywhere? And it's because of needing to reconcile with yourself here. And this is going to be a process, because there is a whole like spiritual, psychological side of this that you're undergoing. And I think too, like your ideas about how these things work, that's also changing too. Like how you understand relationships to work and how you see that they do as a reflection of your inner landscape. And that when there's chaos within your inner landscape, you will also feel that within your relationship. This can be a time too where you come to this realization and you spend more time reflecting on this. So rather than feeling like stuff is only gonna be resolved if you go to this person and chat with them, even though yes, communication is necessary, this feels like, has there been internal reflection that has been being neglected? Have there been revelations that are ready for you to become aware of that have been being neglected by looking outward, by looking externally, when really you were going to find that inside? Because having us end with Hermit over here feels like the answers that you seek, you are going to find through reflection. But having the Nine of Wands be above it feels like you may find it hard to go and do the reflecting. You may find it easier to play things out, play your inner landscape out externally with this person, and bypass the reflecting and just do it with them. But this can be a time when you realize that it can be much simpler to just reflect and to see what's going on, because then you're not also, there's not also the other person's energy being mixed in things and then confusing things as well. This can feel more like a cutting to the chase here that happens. Because as much as you can feel like you want a new chapter with you and this person where things can be great, what you'll find is that this can be a new chapter for you with yourself. And that can foster a relationship with this person in the way that you want it to. So one can hear this and be like, oh, I'm gonna have a new chapter in Ace of Cups with this Two of Cups. So myself and this person, we're gonna have this new chapter together. And you can see it only as that, or you can realize the underlying energy and know that this is about you having a new chapter where this allows you to connect with yourself. And through that, you will be able to connect in that way with this other person. And both of them are related to one another. You're not going to have one without the other. It's just not possible. It's not how energy works. There's always going to be that polarity to things. Anything else? There can definitely be ego work that's being done having the sun here. Can be your own stuff that you're working with, definitely, that's brought up. This is something that's going to be a process. There's going to be a lot of looking in and then expending energy and looking in and expending energy. It's going to be like that type of thing. This is going to allow for awakening and change within you and evolving within you, and it will also happen within the relationship, but there can be more of a focusing on you and at times less of a focusing on the relationship, but for the betterment of your relationship, both with yourself and with this person. So yeah, for some of you, you can feel like there's going to be a lot of internal focus and that this relationship will benefit from that as well, but there can be a bit more tuning in and a bit less constantly seeking interaction with this person and then dismissing that internal period of reflection when you need it. Because this is some work that can feel heavy, and so you may really need some time to do this. Because some of you guys too, you're going through a bit of a spiritual awakening right now, and it's something where as you're cultivating that relationship with yourself and with the universe and with everything else around you, this is something that can really take a toll on you. And so making sure that when you feel like you need time, when you feel like you need to stay in, when you feel like you need that hermit time, to actually be doing that. And that things are going to come into focus. It doesn't feel like that at the beginning. Slowly but surely, something is going to make a whole lot of sense that doesn't in the beginning. Because I'm seeing in the beginning this split vision, but then what I'm seeing happen is that as you work through this level, it all comes together and you feel like you gain that clarity, you feel like you gain that breakthrough, you feel like you gain that Ace of Swords through it. I do get this feeling again, and I want to say it again within the reading. Take this if you want it, don't take it if you don't want it. There can be this feeling of, if you hear, there's going to be an Ace of Cups, there's going to be a new chapter where you're going to get to connect, and you get so excited because you think about solely connecting with another person. This feels like there's a realization that it's going to be a connection for you with yourself, to nurture that. And that may be the thing that's more difficult to do. There can be so much excitement when you're like, I get to connect with another person and we can really understand each other. And like, of course, all of us need connection. We want to feel a sense of belonging. Those feel like needs to us. At the same time, what you can be realizing is that as you have sought out external connection, there has been not so much internal connecting. And this doesn't mean like all throughout your life. It can just be this period right now where you're like, you feel excited thinking about connecting with another person. But when the reading talks about having this chapter to connect with yourself, you can be like, I don't really want that. And it's indicating sort of where you are with intimacy with yourself. Like, why do you feel like the answer is solely going to be in an external connection? But then there's not that wanting to connect with self. And then there's going to be that not really getting that intimacy that you want in a connection with another person because you're not intimate with yourself. And it feels like throughout this process, that's what's being realized. You are not going to feel that sense of intimacy and connection with another person unless you are in that space with yourself. So if you're like, I have so much love to give, but like, ew, don't compliment me, or like, don't give me love, or like, I don't want to be seen. And then you're like, why don't I feel connected within the connection? It's because this is an opportunity for you to work on that part of yourself, so then you can come fully open into the connection and feel like you can actually get the type of connection that you're looking for with another person. So it starts with that intimacy with you and yourself. It also reminds me of the quote about what we seek. Essentially, what we can be seeking externally is really what we want for ourselves. So if there's this, I want to give love to this person or that person, or I can be such a great nurturer in this position, it's really that we want to give that to ourselves. It's what we're seeking to give to ourselves. We try to give it away and give it away and give it away, and we really just, that's what we're asking ourselves for. And that's where you can feel that resistance, where it's like, no, I don't want to give it to myself. I just want to give it to them. And even feeling like they're the person that needs it. It's not even me. And the only reason that this is being brought up for you is because it is resonating with you. I feel like that about covers it. Having the sun on the bottom of the deck, I do feel like this is ego stuff that's coming up, that's being worked with, where there are realizations that you are coming to. Working through this is going to allow you to show up fully and presently within your relationships. So that is the ultimate thing that's going to happen externally through this process. And that's also too why there's been this not feeling like there was that intimacy and connection that you've really been looking for, because this is how it's going to be developed. This is how you'll get to experience that. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.